I want to go to James, who has an interesting call for us from Virginia. James, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hey, yeah. So I am a ex Jehovah's Witness, deconverted back in 2020, and basically, thank you. Basically, I have lived my life with no life savings, and having Phil on the show, I was hoping could give some advice for some of us that have come out of a religion where they've given everything they've ever earned to the church or cult.
So maybe Iran is kind of a sign.
Yeah, and so now I need to be thinking about end of life situations, and
So real simple, because a lot of times I talk about very elaborate and complicated things and ways to make money if you already have money. But it's also important from time to time I talk about if you have next to nothing, what the fuck do you do? And so I'm going to tell you, James, and this is for you and anyone else that's listening. You want to go to Vanguard.com. I am not affiliated with Vanguard. I do not get paid by Vanguard. I don't get commissions or anything from Vanguard. They are just simply the best mutual fund company you can use. Vanguard.com. You start off by opening an account. It'll be a regular account, an individual account, a brokerage account, a taxable account, whatever fucking name they call it. You set one of those up. At the beginning, you can treat it like a checking or savings account. You can link it to your bank. You can send $10 a month. You can send $50 a month. Don't get one of those fancy apps. And I could bore people with the reasons why most of them suck. The only ones that I don't know that suck is probably because I haven't looked at them. But go ahead and set up an account at Vanguard. Put money in there. If you have the means, probably the next thing you want to do is open up a Roth IRA. If you are working, if you have earned income, you can put money into a Roth IRA. The one downside with a Roth IRA, it does not reduce your current tax bill. The big upside for a Roth IRA is that if you put $5,000 and 30 years from now, it's $50,000. You can take that entire $50,000 out whenever you want, and you pay no tax on it. Does that help in any way, James?
It does a bit, yeah. And I'm also, I was calling not just for myself, but there's a fairly large ex-Jehovah's Witness community that I know a lot of us do deal with these kind of questions. And
what I can do, James,
I do have a 401k that I started. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I'd love to hear about the 401k. Let me give you real quick. And again, this is, like you said, not just for you. Anyone who's listening, I have 4 books. Let's see if I can get that on the screen. There we go. 4 books that I recommend. And I do insist that you read them in order. The first book is called The Richest Man in Babylon. The second book is A Random Walk Down Wall Street. The third book is Winning the Loser's Game. And the fourth book is Common Sense on Mutual Funds, written by John Bogle, the guy who started Vanguard. If you didn't catch him, just go back 10 seconds and listen to him again. All bookstores can get these for you. All of them are available on Kindle. All of them are available on audio. The fourth book, Common Sense on Mutual Funds, I do insist people buy that in paper format. I don't know if it's even in paperback, but you probably have to buy the hardback. And you should treat it like a textbook. Depending on your level of experience and knowledge in this category, the first couple of books might be pretty darn easy. The third book is a little harder, but not much. The fourth book, it's a challenge. And people go, well, I'll just skip the first 3 books and go to the end. It's not going to work. If you don't know, because the fourth book assumes you know the difference between an open-end and a closed-end mutual fund. Most people don't. It assumes that you know the technical differences between a mutual fund and an ETF. Go ahead, James. What's up?
Oh, I was just saying, nope, I sure don't.
Yeah. So you want to know those things so that I tell people it's like building a house. You can't put the roof on until you've built the other levels. And Common Sense on Mutual Funds has a lot of data. It has mathematical formulas and calculations, a lot of discussion of probability and statistics. You don't have to get all of it, but it really helps if you're not stuck with the other words and terms. And again, I tell people, this doesn't have to, it's not a Harry Potter book. It's not like you're going to stay up one night and skip sleep for 8 hours and just rip through it. At least you shouldn't. Read a few pages and pause, because you're probably going to have to look things up and check things out. But you need those first 3 books to have the underlying education. But with that, I love that you've got a 401k. They're usually fantastic. The first rule I tell people, if you have something like a 401k or a 403b, make sure you understand how, if any, money is coming from the company, that you get every fucking penny of the free money, because no investment beats that. If they're going to give you 50% of the first 6% that you put in for a total of 3% from the company, I've run into people that put 5% in and only get 2.5%. Why not get the free money? You got to get all the free money. So make sure you understand what they're going to give you and make sure you're collecting all of that. But a 401k is an absolutely fantastic way to build wealth. And if you do like most people do, where every few years you switch jobs, when you leave that employer, you roll it into an IRA, a traditional IRA. Sometimes they'll call it a contributory IRA or a rollover IRA, but it's still an IRA. Then you can have almost an unlimited number of choices, which maybe is not helpful, but you want to look for Vanguard index funds. If you learn nothing else from any of the bullshit I've said tonight, learn about index funds and how their lower costs, lower turnover, and better returns help you beat almost all other investors doing next to nothing. What do you think, James? That too much? That enough? That help?
No, that was awesome and really, really helpful. And this is good information that I can give to others that need it as well. So I really appreciate your time and helping with it. And yeah, thanks for taking my call.
Great. Thank you, James. Thanks for calling in. I'm glad we could talk about that. Again, very different from our usual thing, but people need to know that this stuff. I mean, actually, I was going to say this, Phil. You recommended those 4 books last time on the show, and I actually read Richest Man of Babylon after we talked. I didn't get to the other books. I probably should get to the other ones. A little thing called COVID happened. I don't know if you remembered that. Life kind of got a little crazy, but I probably should go back because that was pretty good.
Well, one of the things people ask me constantly, they're like, well, what about a brand new book? What's trending? I don't give a fuck what's trending.
Richest Man of Babylon's like 100 years old. Like, it's a pretty old book.
And I have to warn people, The Richest Man in Babylon has some themes and content that sound wrong, and they probably are wrong in today's society.
Yeah.
Work through that. And if someone can find me a better book to start with, let me know. But one of the things about Richest Man in Babylon that is so powerful, there's a point where the leaders, the politicians, whatever, hire in the fictional story the richest man in Babylon to teach everybody in Babylon how to make money, because they don't want to have so much poverty. They want people to make money. And they're in this room, and there's all these men, because women don't count in ancient Babylon, or maybe even 100 years ago. And the question is, what do you need to do to save and invest money? And, he's asking the audience kind of the Socratic method thing. And someone raises their hand and said, I would be able to save more money if I just made a little bit more. And a lot of people are like, yes, that would do it. If I could just make more money, I could save money finally. And he says, look around this room at all the people that are in it. Are there people in here that make more than you? Are there people that make less than you? And everyone kind of agrees, there's different income from everybody in this room. So all these people with different incomes, they still are all broke. So that's not the solution. Now, the nice thing is the book has ideas and topics and suggestions that are going to work better, but I'm just here to tell you, while it might look easier, and it might even be a little easier, making more money doesn't always fix it. I've had people call me, husband and wife are both making 120 grand a year, $240,000. I had one couple, they're living in the garage above their mom's apartment, paying her $500 a month for the room, for the heat, for the air conditioning, the internet, cell phones, everything. And they call me up and they're like, we have $60,000, $70,000 in credit card debt. What? How the fuck is that possible? I'm like, I said, how often, normally I ask people when I'm doing this little bit of financial spending thing, how often do you eat out per week? But I knew this was going to be different. I said, how many times do you guys eat out per day? And they said 3 to 4 times every meal. We have no food in our house at all.
Ooh.
If we want to eat, we have to go out. So something you could maybe spend $4 or $5 or $10 on at the grocery store, you're spending $50, $80, $100, $120 for a nice meal. Just going to McDonald's now for 2 people can be $25 to $30, which is crazy, but it's the world we live in. You got to stop doing that. I said, the single biggest thing I'm going to teach you, it's going to make you a fortune. 2 words, grocery store. Go to one. You don't even have to start with fucking Aldi. You're eating out all the time. You can go to the nice grocery store, but eventually you go to Aldi, where you can get things for ridiculously low prices just because you have to bag it yourself. And you might only have one choice for chips or one choice for salsa. But if you want to be economical, I think, like, I don't know if people notice, but I've got this is my glass. This is my jar I'm drinking my little caffeinated beverage out of. Why do I use this? Because it was fucking free. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do to do
Phil
that.
Is saying,
what's that?
Phil's saying, listen, if you're a millennial, stop eating that avocado toast. That's what Phil is saying.
I mean, if your money, spend it however you want to. But like you had mentioned earlier, if you're 27, can you save enough for retirement? One of the rules of thumb in the industry is 10%. If you save 10% per year, you're going to make it. I'm calling bullshit on that, by the way.
Okay. Actually, okay, that's interesting because I have heard that. So please tell me why that's bullshit.
Common. I call 10% the suck ass minimum. If you start when you're 20 and when you get to 62, if you've always saved 10%, okay, yeah, sure, it'll work. You didn't start when you were 20.
No.
You started when you're 26 or 27. A lot of people start when they're in their 30s. 10% is not going to cut it. The other thing, of course, is that if you're saving 10%, sometimes shit happens. And for a year or two, you don't save 10%. So most people are going to struggle really hard when they get to retirement if their goal was to save 10%. So what I tell people, and yeah, it's easy to say and it's hard to do, you need to save 20%. 20% per year. If a year comes up where you can't do it, cool, you can still make it. If you start when you're 35 and not 20, cool, you can still make it. But 10% for a lot of people, it's just not going to cut it. And a lot of people will contact me in their mid and late 50s or even early 60s. And they say, I've been saving 10% for 30 years and I still don't have enough to retire. Well, we shouldn't be telling people 10% is going to work. It might for you if you get lucky. But for most people, 20% is a better number. And you know what? If you save 20% per year and then you find when you retire, you have too much money, boo fucking who, right? God, that's going to suck for you. But then you can give it away and you can help people. So, it just doesn't mean it sits there as a pile of gold like you're a fucking dragon. Help some people out.
Duck.